Hey there, Classpad.net users. Today I'm going to be showing you the interconnectedness from spreadsheets and the calculations. Basically, how can you use the calculator function to fill in table data when you're trying to make some quick calculations from table data that you already have. So let's enter some table data, and I'm just going to do a relatively simple one. We're going to talk about the side lengths of a square and the area and the perimeter of that square. So we're going to record several side lengths. So I'm going to go to my table and actually enter my sides. So this is the length of the sides, and let's just enter some numbers. So I'm doing this data by hand, right? So maybe I have 1 inch, 2, 3, 4, 5, and let's just kind of add some other more interesting numbers. Let's try to get 10 in there, even do 30. All right, so I've entered the length of the sides of a square by hand, but now I want to do some calculations, and I don't want to have to enter 10 pieces of data in column B. So column B is going to be, let's see, what's the perimeter of each of these squares. So if this is the length of the side, what would the perimeter of that square be? I could enter it by hand, but I can also use my calculator to help me do this more efficiently. So let's pull up a calculator here, and I'm talking about perimeter, so I have to define my perimeter. So we're going to use that colon equal, which is right here, colon equal, to define what is the calculation that I need to do for perimeter. Well, I want to take my data that I have, my sides, and what am I going to do to those sides? I'm going to, perimeter is the distance around the square, and I have all 4 sides the same, so it's the sides, whatever the length of the side is, times 4. So once I do that, notice I get the numbers in 2 different places. I get it in the calculate, it comes up as a list in the order based on how the numbers were entered here, but then it auto fills in my column B that was perimeter. So this is a nice connection. I have done a calculation in my statistics, and it automatically fills in that table for me, which is lovely. So let's do the same thing over here. We also want to do area. So again, I'm going to define my variable, my multi-character variable, another nice feature of Classpad.net. And now I'm going to define what that means. Area in this case is a square. So the area of a square is a rectangle, so length times width, but since both length and width are the same, so they're sides, it's really sides squared. So I'm going to take sides, and notice that I am really matching my letters. So non-caps here, sides, everything matches, and so I'm going to square it. Or I could have just done sides times sides, but squared accomplishes the same thing. And again, it fills out here in my calculate, I get my list, but then it auto fills in my statistical table. So now I've got my calculations done. I've got 3 different columns. I can now make some statistical plots. And in this particular example, what might we be interested in looking at? Like the relationship between sides and perimeter. So let's make a scatter plot of sides and perimeter. So when I go over to my scatter plot, I'm going to see a visualization of my sides and perimeter here, right? So let's move that up so we can see it a little better. And it's linear, as we expected, right? Because we just did a linear calculation, 4 times sides. So now let's do the same thing with sides. So I'm going to select sides and this time area and go to scatter plot. And this is going to have a different take. So notice it is parabolic, right? So then we could continue. So the nice thing is everything is connected here. I filled in, I did some calculations with my statistics that auto filled in the statistical table. I now have graphs because I had the tables fill in so quickly for me, and now I could even add in my linear, well, my equations. The first one's linear, so let's just do the first one. Let's change the color to blue so that it matches. And we sort of already know the equation, right? Because the way we define perimeter. So if I'm going to enter the function, I'm going to do y equals 4 times x, right? And hopefully that's going to fit to my curve here of my data points. And now we can make some, analysis, those types of things. And then let's add a second function here. Let's make it red so it matches. And now let's do y equals, in this case, it was x squared, right? So this should match as well. So many things you can do because of that interconnectedness, but the main thing I wanted to really be pointing out in this little how-to is how you can fill in statistical spreadsheets by defining a variable. This is a multi-character variable, and then defining it in the calculate function, and it will make the calculations for all the data values you already have and fill in the data table. So a really nice feature of that interconnectedness that Classpad.net has. So have fun exploring, and stay tuned for the next how-to. Thanks.